Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to make a concrete material in Substance Designer and get it over into Unreal Engine. The great thing about concrete is that it's good for a lot of different urban environments, all sorts of different models. Also, we're going to make a more plain version of concrete today so that we can overlay decals on it in the future. And then I'll go over a decal tutorial with cracks and chips and rocks and all sorts of different grunge and leaks and stuff like that. And all of that looks really good on concrete. And you can actually take those decals and even add them to the material. You can keep them as decals or whatever. And we'll do that stuff in the future. But today we're going to make a really convincing, nice concrete. Okay, so now that we've got what we're going to do today, I am a small channel, and if you like what I'm doing, please interact with the video. It could help me get kind of a jump. I've got very little views and very little subscribers, so any help would be greatly appreciated to just kind of jumpstart, and I would appreciate the heck out of it. So thanks a lot. Let's get moving. I would still say this is a beginner-ish tutorial. I will kind of go through just about everything. We have a little bit more time today, but the result will be a professional result. So it's going to be a nice one, so kind of buckle up and here we go. So first of all, you can see I have my substance graph here, and to get to this you go to File, New, Substance Graph here, and you just choose the metallic roughness right here, name it. I named mine T concrete, T_concrete. And if you hit OK, it'll bring up all your output nodes. Now the only output nodes we need are normal, I'll kind of zoom in here, normal, height, roughness, and base color. So you can get rid of and delete the output node that's at ambient occlusion and metal. We don't need those. So we're just going to get started right up here, and we're going to start working on the small details of our height map for our concrete. Okay, so in order to look up nodes, you hit the space bar and then you can type them in. And you can look them up and then place them in here. And we looked up black and white spots 2 and then put that in. And as far as the settings, here they are. I'm going to go through all of the settings that are set. It's possible that I'll miss something, but I will have it up here on the right. And you should be able to see it or pause if I do make some sort of possible mistake and miss something. It's always possible that I miss a number. I'm going to try my best not to. So we do our black and white spots. We make one of those. Looks like nothing's changed here. Scale 1, disorder 0. Fractal sum base. These are the settings for that. 1.03, global opacity 1, min level 6, max level 10. And what you can do, if you want, you can go to these and randomize them. Right now I don't have them at a random seed, you can see. No random seed for those, so if you want to do exactly what I'm doing, just kind of keep moving right along. We'll blend those two together, pull in a blend. And we'll blend them with multiply and opacity 0.72. So put the BNW spots over the fractal sum base, multiply 0.72. Then I leveled that out. You can see how I pulled the handles here. I pulled the black one up and the white one down. And I pulled this one over to the left a little bit. And you can see the numbers if you want to. You can do it yourself, or if you want the exact numbers, here they are over here on the right. And you'd have to copy those numbers down pretty much exactly. So I'll kind of give you a second if you want to do that. And then I'll just go back. And that's our small details right here. So now let's do large details. So for large details, we pull in a clouds, and the clouds scale 1, disorder 0.46. We'll blur that. Just do a regular blur at 19.75. You see how it kind of makes it crazy. These are larger details. This is going to make it kind of look like it's not a perfectly flat surface for the concrete. Then we'll pull in a purlin down here. The purlin scale at 7. The disorder 1.72. Pull that into a levels. And I'll show you the level handle here, just the black one up just a little bit. Here are the numbers if you want to take the exact numbers down. I'll give a second for that. And then we'll blend these two together. So the clouds into the blur and the purlin into the levels. And we'll blend them in here. Clouds on the bottom, the purlin on the top, blend them with an overlay. Okay? You can see how it makes this kind of cloudy deal there. We'll level that out. Pull the black handle up, the white handle down. Here are the settings for that, if you want to take the exact settings. Okay, I'll give you a second over here on the right. Now, feel free to all of these. Like right now, the random seed for this one is 5. The purlin is 4. If you want to copy me exactly, you'll have to put in those seed numbers. Otherwise, you can just randomize them yourself. So now let's blend the small details here, the first one we did, with the large details, and blend it here, right here, with an overlay. So those will just blend together. And now we're going to make some chips for our concrete. You can see here in our 3D view, you can see how it's like chipped in a little bit in areas. Let me pull it up a little bit so you can see like these types of chips into our concrete. So we'll start with a shape over here. You can see this is the chip section. Start with a shape, do paraboloid, scale 1. Pretty sure all of those are just the standard settings. We'll go to slope, blur, grayscale, add that in right here. And connect the shape into that. Samples 25, intensity 6.94. We have a fractal sum base here. Here are the settings for that. Roughness 0.04, global opacity 0.79, min level 5 and 11. And we'll plug that into our slope, blur, grayscale, and you can see what it does is it kind of chips away at our shape a little bit. Make it more like rocky, kind of chippy in, right? And then we're going to do a couple tile generators. So here's one here. Now you can copy my random seed down here, but I do suggest just kind of playing around with where you want yours. This is just 2 different variations of the tile generator. You can see as we go down on the right here, for this tile generator right here, we have the settings here. X amount is 8, Y amount is 8. And then you just kind of go down the line. And I believe a lot of these are the same except for maybe scale 0.2 and scale random 0.66. And then here are the random positions. X random 4.96, Y random 1.63. And random mask 0.9. So we'll go kind of back up if I missed anything. If yours doesn't kind of look like this, which is only a couple dots in there, then you'll have to look at some of these settings. But I believe I got them all. So yeah, X 4.96, 1.63. So there you go, pattern, image, input. And there you go, and there's the random seed. So that's the first tile generator. Let's go to the second one. You can see this one has quite a few more when we kind of look at it in the 2D view. So this one has quite a few more. X amount 6, Y amount 6. Image input for pattern. Come down here. Scale 0.1, scale random 0.53. Come down a little bit more. Here are the X and Y randoms, 0.34 and 2.35 for Y. Come down even a little bit more, and here's the random mask is set at 0.37, so you can see more of them. Blending mode max. So yeah, I believe that's all the settings for that. So we can kind of go, I'll just stop at different intervals here and you can double check if yours isn't looking quite the same. But here's the random seed for that. Let me pull that out. And again, you don't have to copy these exact random seeds, just play with them. And you can look at like your results of where it's chipped in your actual result, you know, like whether you like it or not, or you think there's too many or too little. Feel free to play with those settings and you'll get these different chips in your concrete. So now we'll blend these two tile generators together eventually, but first let's warp them a little bit with this purlin. So the purlin is 10.88. Run it into this warp here. Looks like the intensity is 0.39. So run the purlin into there and warp that. You'll see the result here. It just kind of stretches things out a little bit. Do the same thing with the bottom one. This time we'll warp it 0.49. And you can see it just kind of warps them just a tiny bit, stretches them out, pulls them into different orientations. Now we'll blend them both together. We'll do screen, so the light on light. And there you go, blend those together. And then let's invert grayscale so we get black on white. And then we'll do a black and white spots here. And here are the settings for the black and white spots. 1, 2, 0.24, 0.48. Now these black and white spots will run into the slope of the slope blur grayscale. Put our invert grayscale over the top. And there you go. And here's our slope blur grayscale. Do samples. 32, I always chuck that all the way up. And intensity 0.2. And if you look, I'll kind of show you what the result of that is. This kind of chips in each of those chips even more. See how it adds this extra bit of detail? That's what the slope blur is. So we're not just having those round chips. These look more like chips into concrete. Okay, so this is our end result for our chips mask. Now we're going to blend the chips over our small details and large details. So you bring that first blend down into this blend. And our first, for the small and large details, goes on the second one. And our chips goes over the top. And this would be our done height map. Can you believe it? If you've done some of the other textures and materials we've done, you're probably thinking, really? This, I thought it would be at least a half an hour. Nope, this one's going to be fast. Fast, but still high quality. So this blend here, multiply 0.4. So you're multiplying this slope blur grayscale over the top of the other blend. And that's how you can get those little chips in there. And here's kind of your result in the 2D view. Okay. So now that we have our height map done, let's kind of plug that into our height output. Now would be a good time to go over how I do things. Like I named this graph T_concrete. I might have mentioned that already. But for the height output, for the identifier, I put HEIGHT, so height in caps. That way when I export, it'll be T_concrete_ with this height on it. Okay? So now we've got our height map. Let's just finish off our normal map too while we're right here. You can see our height done. We'll plug right straight into a normal SOBO right here. The intensity, you can play with this on your own too, but I like 4.5 seem to be pretty good. You can get things to be bumpier and less bumpy. Right now I'm going for more of a smooth look, but if you want it to start bumping out quite a bit more, play with the intensity. Plug your normal SOBO into your normal output, and I just name that NRM so that it'll export that way. Okay? So now let's do our color map. So come up here, and here's our color map, our section. So first thing we want to do is make a purlin, and here's the scale 7, disorder 0, and then we're going to do a grunge galvanic large right here. Now remember, if you look at my random seed numbers here, you can copy this exactly, but these are long numbers, and I do encourage you to play around. I've said that before, but now. So now we're on our grunge galvanic large, and you can see the settings for this. I'm not sure if I changed anything or not. In fact, I'm almost certain I didn't. But if I did, it would be in these numbers down here. Now we're going to directional warp. We're going to do 2 directional warps, and we're going to run that first purlin into the first one here. And this one's intensity is 1200. And you see the warp angle here down is 0. Okay, so see it looks like it's warping it. See how it's going horizontal there? That's what you want. So I'll open that up in the 2D view. You can see it's kind of warping it. You can see like we're getting these stripes in that direction. So we run the galvanic into the bottom of the directional warp, the purlin into the top. So you see the same thing on the second directional warp. And the second directional warp, the only change is still 1200 for intensity. The other only change is we change the warp angle to 90. Okay, so if you look at the first one, 0 turns, and second one, 90. So you see we have one going this way and one going that way, and we're going to blend both of those together with add and subtract, and we're going to get this kind of result right here. And then we're going to just add some color to that to make our color map. Now, when you're playing with this and doing it, you can copy my numbers exactly. Let's tile this so I can show you. One thing you're going to want to do, it's nice to have it stripe horizontally. But if you get a lot of vertical stripes, it's good that there is some definition, because that's what concrete looks like in real life. But you don't want it to be too crazy, both vertical and horizontal. You kind of want one or the other, and I typically go with vertical more, which is why you can see when I did my randomizing of this is the result that I got here. Okay? And now we're going to add some color to that with a gradient map. Now this time, typically in the past, I've done gradient maps that would be more difficult to like follow and maybe get the colors. But this time I only have a few handles in here in my gradient editor, and I figured I can give you the numbers. So I'm going to go left to right, and you have to kind of position your handles in the same positions that I have them here, but I'm going to open them up, each of them, okay? So our first handle here, let me pull this more in the middle. Our first handle here, here's the hex. And I'm going to show you the hex, and then I'm going to move on to the next handle. So if you need to pause to take that down for the first handle, you can see the position here. Now I'll go to the next one. And now you can see the hex for that one on the next one. And then I'm going to move to the next one. And you can see the hex for that one. And then I'm going to move to the next one. And these are all different variations of gray. You can see them move to the next one. And then the last one has a hint of blue in it. And you can see that hex right here. So try to follow those, or play around and pick whatever kind of colors you want, or find a picture of concrete and start picking the colors through that. But I found this result to be pretty nice. Remember, the viewport view in here isn't going to quite look like it will in Unreal. So maybe it looks a little subdued here, but it'll pop out a little bit better in Unreal. All right, so we have our main color here up to the gradient map. So now, from our height map, we need to do our RTAO, an ambient occlusion. So run that into an ambient occlusion. This will be our result here. You can see how it tries to shadow in the inset parts. And run our RTAO into a gradient map with, you don't have to do anything, just keep it at color. And now what that does is it allows us to take this black and white image and turn it into color, so we can use that to shade our color map a little bit. Run that into a blend right here and multiply and 0.2, and very subtly it will shade the insets of the divots here and the cracks. So very subtle effect. You can kind of see it right here, and you can increase it or decrease it. If we go to, like, here, I'll show you. If you increase it, it'll start to do it much more. Okay, but we want it really subtle. It really depends on like what you're getting out of your engine and your final result, but I like a little subtle AO built in to our color map. Okay, and you can see it's multiply 0.2. And that finishes the color section of our color map. Now let's add some dirt. So up here, I just did a couple uniform colors. Here's one here. And now I'll open this up and you can see the hex for that. Here's the hex right there. 706454, one version of brown. We'll do another one here. And this hex is 77155, another more yellowy brown. and we're going to blend those two together using a grunge concrete. And you can see here's the grunge concrete settings. I don't believe I changed anything from these. So there you go. So we move the grunge concrete into the opacity mask here and blend both colors together. And this is kind of what you get. And it's a very subtle blend of two different colors. Maybe not even noticeable on the camera now, but you'll notice it on your screen. You'll notice there's kind of a very fine-grained mix of two different browns. All right, so now this dirt is our dirt mask. Now we need to make a dirt node so that we can use that color. So we run that original ambient occlusion that we got from our height done here into our dirt. See, into the ambient occlusion of a dirt. And then we have to make a curvature map. So to do that, I'm going to run this height done blend into a regular normal. We're going to take that normal and run it into a curvature Sobel. You can see this is the result here. We're going to run the curvature Sobel into the curvature of our dirt. So normal at intensity 5, curvature Sobel at intensity 0.5, right? And the curvature Sobel into the dirt along with the RTAO from before. And here we go. And this is our result that we're going to get. This is kind of that kind of neat dirt map that we get out of that. Now we run that into a blend here. And this blend is connected from our color up here, just our regular color, comes down to the second part of the blend. And this dirt comes down to the over part of the blend. I'm not sure if I said this blend mode, this was, yeah, I believe I did. It was multiply 0.2. So this blend mode here will just be copy at opacity 1. So this one, zoop, into there, and this one into there, copy. And then here is our base color. Like that. So you see it's a good mix of like this, the gray for concrete, and then you've got the blue and then some of this dirty stuff just for our color map here. And we've got some swirliness and some fun stuff going on there. So our color is done. So now our color we did our normal map, and we did our height map. So now let's do our roughness map, and that'll be our final map. So we have our height done here. We run that into that regular normal that we did into the curvature, but now we're going to take this regular normal and run it into a curvature smooth. And as you can see the difference here, this one's kind of crazy and crunchy, and the curvature smooth is smoother, obviously, and a little bit more blurred together and soft. We're going to levels that out. You can see I pulled the bottom handle up here, and I'll show you the settings if you want to put the exact numbers in, or just do it on your own. And then this level gets blended with the dirt. So we take our dirt that we made from here, pull this down into the top, and put our levels into the bottom, and we blend those two together. And now you can see the blend is screen, so it lightens it. And you can see it's blending our original curvature map with our dirt map. And our dirt map is lighter, so you don't want it to reflect, so it's not as smooth. The dirt will be rougher. Now we'll run that blend into a levels, and we'll pull that level handle, the left one, up a little bit, and here are the settings for the levels, and here's our roughness map. Now remember, a roughness map is the whiter it is, the rougher it is, the darker it is, the more shiny or smooth it is. So here's our roughness map. So let's kind of zoom out here and take a look, and I believe that's everything, believe it or not. And that was pretty fast, and that's great. So now we're going to take all of this stuff and we're going to run it into Unreal. So the first thing we need to do is export. So I'll right click on the T-concrete here and go export outputs, and you choose a folder. I chose my folder, and you'll see here it says the graph and the identifier, and that's how it'll name it. It'll even give you a preview of the name here, and that's what we want. That way we don't have to go back in that folder and rename stuff before we import. I change everything to sRGB right now. There is a reason for that. That's kind of like a testing reason, and I've gone over that in other videos. If you do know about channel packing, you can export some into RAW and channel pack and stuff like that. But for now, we're just working in sRGB. And you go export outputs, and it exports them. All right, and that is Substance Designer done. So let's minimize that out. And then let's open Unreal. Okay, so now here we are in Unreal. And let's just kind of show you the end result. If you can kind of zoom in a little bit. It's a pretty basic concrete, but it's pretty nice. Like I said, we're going to run some stuff over it. We're going to add cracks. We're going to add streaks. We're going to add all sorts of stuff. So this is basically what we're trying to, this is what we were trying to accomplish today. We did a bunch of different lighting setups so you can see the effect of lighting shining on it from different directions. And let's go over how we got this material made. So in the past, I've made a tutorial going over how to make these materials down here, all these master materials. Now, you don't have to, I will open the one we're going to use today and go over it a little bit, but if you want to go more in depth, in the description, I have it broken down when I make all of these master materials. The master material we're going to use today is going to be the MPOM-CHRN, which means parallax occlusion mapping, and then color, height, roughness, and normal map. And I'll open that up, and those who have watched the video of how to make these, you already know how to do that. So I'll have a timestamp that you can skip ahead to. That'll skip this part. So now let's open this up. And I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because if you want the more detailed version, then you'll have to watch that other video. But for color, I have the color map here into a parameter. We're going to multiply it by vector 4, and we're going to call it tint with all ones in all the values. Then we'll run it through a saturate just to clamp it, and then we run that into color. Specular I set at 0.35. That's not necessarily necessary. You can keep it at 0.5. It's just my personal preference. For roughness, we have a roughness map parameter into a remap value range. Okay, and we have 0 and 1 for numbers here, and we'll put those in. And then we have two parameters here, a roughness min and a roughness map at 0, 0, and 1. Roughness min, roughness max, 0 and 1. And you plug those into target low and target high. That means it's not going to make any change to our roughness map unless we change these values, and then it would remap it, allowing us to make it shinier or darker or whatever we want on the fly with the material instance. Take that result, plug that into roughness. Normal map here, this is a normal map. Texture sampler turned into a parameter. RGB into a breakout float components. There's other ways to do, this is going to strengthen the normal map or weaken the normal map. There's other ways built in to do that, but this is the one that I like. I've pretty consistently used it, and it's pretty performative. So we break out the float components RGB here. We multiply those by a normal strength parameter. We multiply the R and the G by a strength parameter. You can see we run that into B. The blue gets appended back onto those. So we append the red to the green here, and then we append the red and green to the blue here. And then we run this append into our normal. And that allows us to strengthen and weaken our normal map. Now, up here, we're going to use parallax occlusion mapping. It's not probably necessary for the concrete, but just for fun, we're going to kind of keep it as the most complicated. Like I said, in the other tutorial, I've gone over normal bump and bump offset. So if you want to use one of those instead, you'll just have to go and check that tutorial out. So we'll bring in a parallax occlusion mapping, and this is a Heightmap texture object. Now you can't just pull that in, it's not a texture sampler. You actually have to search that out by right-clicking and put in a texture object, convert that to a parameter, and then pull your picture in to the left corner where I'm showing here down in the left. Plug that into the texture 2D there. Now we're going to make some parameters: height ratio, min steps, and max steps. And each of these will set. Height ratio is 0.02, min steps is 8, max steps is 32, and we'll plug that in, dunk, 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 into those, and we'll make a vector 4 here, and that just tells it where we have our height map, what channel it's in. We're just going to use the red channel right now because we don't have a texture packed. So that's 1, 0, 0, 0, and we'll run that into height map channel here. Here to here. It's necessary to have this to tell it where to look for your height map. We don't use a texture sample up here because it samples it in the parallax occlusion mapping node itself. So we run those parallax UVs into a multiply so that we can tile it if we want. We do a couple parameters here called tile U and tile V. Make sure to set these to 1. I don't know how many times I've set those to 0, and that you can't tile something 0 times. We'll append these two together, dunk dunk, into the B, and multiply that by our parallax UVs, and then run this multiply into the UVs of all our texture samples. So bunk into UV color map, bunk into UV roughness map, and bunk into UV normal map. And there you go. I know I flew through that pretty quick, but I do have a tutorial that covers all this in detail. So, but I did still want to, I still wanted to put this in here for people who don't necessarily want to go back and do that tutorial. So let's shut that down. Now, we'll create a material instance out of this POMCHRN by right-clicking. And you can see here, create material instance, right there. Now, that's what I did to create this MI concrete POM, and I named it that for material instance concrete, and I like to put POM in there so I know which one I'm doing. So like say I did a normal bump, I'd put NB, and if I did bump offset, I'd put BO. So let's open that up. Now here's our material, our concrete. You have to tick all of our little tick boxes here. And let's minimize this a little bit so we can kind of see. You have to tick all the tick boxes here and then pull our textures in. So here's our color, height, normal, and rough, and you pull them into their respective sections. I'll pull this out so you can see a little bit better. Pull them into their respective sections. I did tick on height ratio. I was playing with that, but I think that's just the default 0.02. You can change that. That would make it bump out more and use the parallax more. Okay, and you can change and screw around with some of these other things, like if you want to play with the tint, the height ratio, whatever you want to do. You want to tile it, make it less rough, more normally craggy, whatever. You can play with those, but we're going to call that good. And then I just applied it to our world here. And our world is basically, if you need help making a world in general in Unreal, of course, we have tutorials that follow that also. I have starting with Unreal tutorials. And I'll also link that in the thing. So this is our general result. I know, like, okay, so like it's concrete, so it's not going to be the most exciting thing. And we didn't add all the cracks and all the fun stuff, but that's because we're going to put that into decals. And we're going to have the cracks and all the fun stuff overlaid over it. And I'll show you when I make the decals how to work that into your materials too. But you don't necessarily want to have, like, say you put a crack right here. Then that crack's going to go here, 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 and here, and it's going to kind of multiply all around. So it's good to have like the base material first, and maybe you can make some variations with a crack in it, or you can use decals like what we're going to go over. So there you go. I'm a pretty small channel, so this is going to be the end of our concrete for today. I'm very small channel, so if you could interact, like, subscribe, give a comment, anything, that would be great if you found any use for this. I don't get a whole lot of views. Trying to find the motivation to kind of keep doing them. I do want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day and take care of yourselves.